What up, y'all? I really, 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 truly appreciate you guys listening to the podcast and supporting me and just tuning in for this fourth season of 5 Minutes with an Akata. So this episode is a special one and it's kind of full circle. So quick story time. I met Véronique, I believe, about 15 years ago. Which is a long time. And I was asked to join a group of amazing female students from across the country who aspired or already owned a small business. At the time, I was unofficially using ID Productions as my business, and I was a part of the Entrepreneurship Society. Shout out to Faye and Mr. Muhammad, who thought I'd make a great addition in joining the women for a conference held by WeBank. Women Business Enterprises National Council. That's what it's called. And it was amazing, you guys. We gained mentors from Fortune 500 companies. I'm talking GM, Chevrolet, etc. We wined and dined with millionaires and billionaires, y'all. We met Good Morning America's Robin Roberts, and the beautiful Sheila Johnson, co-founder of BET, was the keynote speaker. As you can imagine, life-changing. It also shifted and changed my perspective as well. But most importantly, I believe it was God's way of telling me I have a plan for your life. I was really, really young, and this was just such a game changer and life-changing experience that I was able to have the opportunity to be a part of. I'm just glad that I met so many amazing women and that I met Véronique. And she is kind, she is sweet, but most importantly, she is sure of herself. So I'm not surprised to see all her amazing successes today. But I'll leave it there so you can truly enjoy this very special and full circle episode. It may be different, it may be unpopular, but it's on purpose.
I got a theory. Is the word Akata a mystery? Do we really know the history? I'm Nigerian, born in America, so this is 5 minutes with an Akata.
Woye, my people, black people, good people, and all peoples. In today's quest to learn more about the word Akata, I speak with Mrs. Véronique George. She's the founder and owner of VLG Productions, Interim Chief Marketing and Communications Officer at Salem Academy and College. We only got 5 minutes, actually. This is season 4. We got a little more time. Oh yeah, let's get into this. Hello, Ms. Véronique. Thank you so much for joining me for 5 minutes with Akata.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
So have you ever heard about the word Akata before?
You know, I learned about it through this show and podcast. So that was my introduction to the word.
What was your first impression when you heard it? Was it a positive or a negative? Like, how did you feel when you heard it?
When I heard it, I was intrigued because I had never heard the word before. So I immediately researched it. And then I found out that it could be both a term of endearment, but it could also be derogatory from what I was reading. And so I thought it was really interesting because I had never heard of it. I did not know that there are some descendants who live in Africa, in certain countries in Africa, who've referred to African Americans in that way and who view African Americans with that perspective. So I thought that was really interesting.
First, I'm glad to hear that this show is doing what it is intended to do, to introduce people to this word who have never heard it and let you form your own opinion. And so what's your ethnicity or your background?
Yeah, I am Caribbean, but my parents, they were born in the Caribbean in Dominica and Virgin Gorda, and they actually moved to Florida to finish school at Florida A&M University. So I'm a second generation Rattler, and that's where I was born. So I identify as Caribbean, but I consider myself to have kind of both, best of both worlds, where I was raised in the States and I got to travel back home, as we call it, and experience culture and food and everything that comes with the Caribbean experience.
Wow, that's amazing. You really do have the best of both worlds. I love the weather in the Caribbean. So do you think that there's a lack of unity between Africans and African Americans? And in this sense, since you're from the Caribbean, is there a division between the Caribbean, African Americans here who are who were born in the Caribbean as well as just the people who are in the island themselves?
Those are both great questions. I haven't personally experienced the divide or division, amongst the two groups. Because everyone that I've encountered, they've been very welcoming. I think that has been a connection point for us. Like, oh my goodness, our parents are from another country. We were born here. All right, let's connect. So we've always connected, on that point. I will say that I've heard, read, seen, in media and other sources that there is a common, I would say, phrase that, people or foreigners often view Africans as more intelligent than African Americans, which I thought was an interesting finding. And then there are some African Americans, as I've researched and seen, on TV who do not want to identify themselves as being African or even visiting the country or have anything to do with that identity. So I find that very interesting. Within the Caribbean and African American community, I am always looking for other Caribbeans. I'm like, okay, I live in North Carolina now. One of my first questions was, okay, where are the African Americans and where are the Caribbean Americans? I need to find my people. I need to know if there's a Caribbean restaurant here because I need good food. So I'm always looking for that sense of community. I found that other Caribbean Americans are also doing the same. And so because we have that commonality, we are just, like I said before, with Africans, that is our connection. That is how we vibe, and that's how we identify with one another.
I'm so happy that has been your experience, and I see that you're in marketing, because sometimes marketing also can, manipulate information and make people think that this is what is happening. And so as a result, people act that way. And I'm happy to see the positive side. For me, like whether I'm out of the country, I always look for my community, like you mentioned. It's so important when you move somewhere. And when I lived in Europe, I remember anytime I saw anyone Black, I didn't care what their ethnicity was. Just we give each other the nod of, okay, we're good.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
What is one thing that you would say Caribbeans and Caribbean Americans have in common?
I would definitely say that it's our culture. Within the past few years, I am so excited to see this celebration of Black culture, I would say around the globe, but especially here in the United States, from the way that we wear our hair, from how we show up in the workplace, to how vocal we are about our identities and what matters to us and taking up space. That culture to me speaks louder than anything else that I've seen, and it's so rich and it's so inviting that I just get so excited to see it and to be a part of it, to be a part of that community. So it's definitely the culture for me.
That's amazing. And I don't know do you have any African friends, because the culture is very similar as well to that of the Caribbeans, from the food, how savory, and all the seasonings and the dances, the music. There's so many similarities as well between Africans and, we're the same people, right? So it makes sense.
Right. Exactly. I agree. I haven't met a lot of Africans here in North Carolina. I had a few African friends when I was living in Florida, and so we connected around that, culture, food, music, vibes. But I haven't found that community here just yet, so I'm looking.
Thank you so much, Miss Veronique, for coming and joining me for 5 minutes with an Akata ?
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Maybe you know the true definition of Akata. If so, let me know. If you like this episode, subscribe, rate, share, and help spread the hope of unity. On Hiyan Zekbe, y'all. I leave you with love, joy, faith, hope. Peace.
LAM.